To the explosive start to George Zimmerman's high-profile trial as the prosecutor used Zimmerman's own words to try to portray him as a vigilante who targeted Trayvon Martin. Let's go to ABC's Matt Gutman in Sanford, Florida. You know who's going to have the very latest for us. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Robin. That's right. Prosecutors expected to roll out key witnesses today who are going to paint George Zimmerman as a man almost destined to kill Trayvon Martin, a man who wanted him dead. The defense is going to counterpunch, saying that Zimmerman acted as any of us would, acting in self-defense. All of that after a day in court in which lawyers dropped F-bombs and in which their jokes bombed shocking jurors.
It took just a few words to send a jolt through the courtroom.
Punks. These they always get away. Those were the words in that grown man's mouth as he followed in the dark a 17-year-old boy who he didn't know.
Assistant District Attorney John Guy opening the prosecution's case by quoting what George Zimmerman told the police dispatcher the night he shot and killed Trayvon Martin.
Those were the words in that defendant's head just moments before he pressed that pistol into Trayvon Martin's chest and pulled the trigger.
Prosecutors saying Zimmerman was hell-bent on harming Martin.
George Zimmerman did not shoot Trayvon Martin because he had to. He shot him for the worst of all reasons, because he wanted to.
Then came the defense's turn. Attorney Don West instead opting to open with a joke.
Knock, knock. Who's there? George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman, who? All right, good. You're on the jury.
Not a single juror laughed, and look closely. That's the lead prosecutor shaking his head. West's statement lasted 2.5 hours, 5 times as long as the prosecutor's. But the all-female panel sat up as he argued Zimmerman was attacked by Martin and fired only in self-defense.
George Zimmerman was crying out for help, and no one helped. Yes, he did have the gun, and thank God.
Already 4 witnesses taking the stand, including the police dispatcher who spoke to Zimmerman that night.
Are you following him? Yeah. Okay, we don't need you to do that. Okay.
Sean Nofke saying Zimmerman didn't follow his instructions, but telling defense attorneys he didn't think the then 28-year-old neighborhood watch volunteer sounded hostile during their call.
I want to be clear. Did you hear any of that hostility in the conversation? No, sir.
I was there in court, Robin, as Trayvon Martin's mother rushed out, obviously overcome by emotion. Trayvon Martin's father dabbing away the tears. We could see over 200 witnesses in this trial. Those wounds for that family being opened up again and again as this trial continues. Robin.
Okay, Matt, thank you. We're going to bring in ABC News Chief Legal Affairs anchor Dan Abrams right now. Break down the opening arguments, beginning with the prosecution.
I think the prosecution was very effective by starting with what is in George Zimmerman's head. Because for second-degree murder, they have to show intent. And so they're talking about the words he was saying. What was he saying on the 911 tape to try to create a whole atmosphere surrounding George Zimmerman that was about aggression and was all part of him going after Trayvon Martin. I think it was very effective. The defense, on the other hand, look, they at this point have a pretty strong legal defense. For him to start with this knock-knock joke, and put aside the fact that it's almost absurd, the notion in this case of starting your defense with a knock-knock joke, but the joke itself was also offensive to the jurors. It was basically saying, hey, how dumb are jurors who might be picked to be on the George Zimmerman case? Oh, they know nothing about George Zimmerman. Ha ha. It's not only not funny, but insulting to them. The other thing I think that was a problem in the context of the defense's opening was at one point you heard the defense attorney talk about the shooting, and he says, thank God that George Zimmerman had a gun, meaning so he could defend himself. There's a way for you to present this case and say he was right, he was entitled, he shouldn't be prosecuted, but to say thank God, I think there were 2 main points with that joke and those words that could stick with these jurors in a very, very dangerous way for the defense.
And quickly today, prosecutors are going to try to convince the judge to allow non-emergency calls that Zimmerman made to be played in court.
Right, they want to show a pattern here. Prosecutors want to be able to show a pattern. This is a guy who called 911 all the time. He was always angry. He was always thinking that there was someone out there, and they think that that's relevant to his state of mind. We'll see today if the judge allows that in.
We will, Dan. Thank you very much.